Hey, South Rock. Have you ever tried going to a movie when you're really tired? I love going to the Warren 21 theater because I can choose my own seat before I get there, and the seats recline and they're heated, and there's plenty of space to stretch out there. The problem is, I almost always fall asleep in the first 10 minutes of a movie there because I just get so comfortable. After a couple of elbow jabs, I'm back awake and I'm good to go. I know as I stand up to preach on Sunday morning or Saturday night, I can see everybody's face out there. And some of you have a really hard time staying awake. Some of you don't stay awake. Now, I never try to go over 29 minutes in my sermon. And I was always taught to use an illustration or a joke every 7 minutes so you don't lose your audience. It really is a problem for us. Well, here in the book of Acts, chapter 20, starting with verse 7, Paul is preaching in this upper room, and it was lit with candles and lamps. They weren't cool light bulbs, they were candles and lamps. And you know, already in an upstairs room, it's hotter there because heat rises. Add to that warm lights and a crowd of people, it was a pretty uncomfortable place to be. Add to that the fact that Paul is leaving the next day and he has a whole lot he wants to say, and so he just keeps on preaching until midnight. Eutychus was a young man, probably between 8 and 14 years old. He's sitting in a window trying to do his best to hear Paul preach and hear every word that he says. But the Bible says his eyes were getting very heavy and he was sinking into a deep sleep. And I love how Luke describes Paul's speaking at this point. Luke says Paul talked on and on and on and on and on. Now, I added some and ons there, but I think that's what Luke was getting at. So Eutychus falls asleep. He falls out the third-story window and he dies. And Paul races downstairs. He lays on top of this young man and he says, "Don't be alarmed. He's alive." And then after he's alive, he comes back calmly upstairs and he breaks bread to eat. And he kept on talking till daylight, the Bible says. And then he left. Now, don't you know that after witnessing all that, these people were awake and ready to listen to every word that Paul had to say? I wish we had a video record of what this looked like. But I picture Paul as this bigger than life man of God who, with God's help, knows he can handle anything. And God continued to do amazing things through Paul. Now, this is just one little snapshot of the incredible story of the book of Acts, where we continue to see the power of God. Have a great week.